Hello everyone. I wanted to make this video because I'm basically just lazy and I want to talk about peer into piece without having to type out a whole guide for it. So this will be a rundown of what the town actually does, how it changes our playstyle, what the build looks like, which this is the build here, is what I would mostly recommend to people. I'll also talk about some variations towards the end. Um, but this will mostly just be the pros and cons of the talent, and how to not sort of ruin your rotation as a result of playing too heavily into the talent. Uh, just because that can very easily happen. And I'll explain what I mean. But if you haven't seen what Pure into Peace does, essentially, percentage of your overhealing is done to 3 nearby allies. It's not split, it's just done 5%. Um, this counts for all healing, similarly to how Chi Harmony works. And the other big thing is that you can now swap the target that you're channeling Soothing Mist on to someone else by using either Enveloping Mist or using Vivify. Yippee! This is a huge quality of life change for us. Obviously, this comes with a massive increase to not only Vivify's direct HPS, because Vivify previously has been like 85-90% average overheal percentage on the direct. And recently I've been seeing logs where it's at like 50 or 30 or even below that, which is very, very good to see. So we do gain a lot from that. And it's also just really fun to play around with because it goes against our nature of having to channel into one person. Now we could just sort of spam onto multiple people at the same time during our Celestial, right? Which is great. The issue with this, though, is that you are obviously spending more mana. Especially during your Celestial, for example, right? You are going to be spending a lot more mana just because you are channeling Soothing Mist, which costs 1k per second, on top of uh, putting out your normal Enveloping Mist. This does give you a lot of HPS, however, because you are playing with stuff like Unison and Jade Serpent Statue, which will just net you more HPS from the Soothing Mist, right? However, you are spending more mana. So, what a lot of people have been doing that I've seen recently is they have been casting onto one target. Let's say like there's two people at 50% HP. One person has Chi Harmony, another person doesn't. They'll cast onto the target with Chi Harmony. They'll put a Vivify or an Enveloping Mist into that target. They'll go up to full HP, and then they'll swap off the person who has Chi Harmony on them for the other person who's at 50% HP, and start healing them. This causes a little bit of an issue just because what ends up happening is not only do you lose your clouded focus stacks because you swap targets, right? You don't keep the stacks as you swap targets. You're only gaining it for as if you casted normally on them. But you're also losing a lot of the Chi Harmony benefit as well on the first target that you casted on. So we don't really want to do that as much as possible. It is going to end up being sort of a layer of difficulty added to it, just because you're going to have to determine whether the person who didn't get Chi Harmony, who's at 50% HP, is actually in need of healing or not, comparatively to the person who's at 50% HP and who has Chi Harmony. So if you know that that person who doesn't have Chi Harmony is going to be taking a significant amount of damage, if you keep the person with Chi Harmony alive to survive that mechanic, but you then need to swap to the other person to keep them alive as well, you could definitely do that. But in any other case where that person is in no threat of dying, I would consider just sticking on the person with Chi Harmony and just continue to cast on them, similarly to how we would normally do it before, where you're not swapping targets. Just because you're going to gain more benefit out of Cloud of Focus, you're going to gain more benefit out of Chi Harmony, you're going to gain more mana back, and you're just going to get more HPS overall from it. Yes, you will be losing out on the Vivify Direct. That kind of sucks, but it's ultimately not that big of a deal because you are trading it for Chi Harmony healing, you are trading it for more mana, and that more mana could be used towards getting more Vivifies out, or getting more Enveloping Mists out, whatever it may be. So realistically, the only time that you're really going to be wanting to use Peer into Peace and be playing around with it is in a period where you are going to be pressing your Celestial. So here, I press my Celestial. As you can see, I'm pressing Soothing Mist, and I'm looking to just channel onto whomever has Chi Harmony. Towards the end of it, I'll slow this down as well. So I'll go back here and slow it down and explain each part of it. I'll put it up, 0.5. So as I'm going along here, I'm looking to cast onto people who have Chi Harmony, ideally. But if people do not have Chi Harmony and they're in danger of dying, obviously channel on them first. Towards the end of that, you can see that my channel sort of runs out, and I have to recast my Soothing Mist. So you can see on the side as well here that I have to recast my Soothing Mist. This is just because my Soothing Mist naturally runs out, and I want to still be healing through Soothing Mist and pressing Enveloping Mist or pressing Vivify through Soothing Mist because I want to get that extra HPS out. So I go to recast Soothing Mist. This is very similar to how you would do it in a normal Yulon ramp, where you would cast 4 to 5 Enveloping Mist, then you would press, Renewing Mist or whatever it may be, then press Soothing Mist, and then spam into somebody. It's very, very similar to that. You treat the Soothing Mist as sort of your last point before you want to spam Vivify into someone. So all the Enveloping Mist beforehand, which I did, I think, 7 casts or 6 casts of Enveloping Mist. Once I get to the Soothing Mist, which is the end of my first Soothing Mist channel, that's my halfway point to then go into spamming Vivify into somebody, which is what I do. I press Enveloping Mist on that person, and then I spam Vivify. I probably should have just went with pressing Vivify instead of pressing Enveloping Mist, because I didn't actually need to... Actually, I did do that. I'm wrong. Disregard what I said. Just spam Vivify into that person if they have Enveloping Mist on them. They have Chi Harmony, they have Enveloping Mist. That's my go-to to spam Vivify. And I just sit there and spam Vivify into that target, right? And then I go to drink my Mana Tea. But that's basically just how you would do the rotation. To show it again here, in just a normal speed. Cast my Mana Tea, so I have Mana Tea up before I press my Yulon. Then I'm pressing Yulon, pressing Soothing Mist, spamming into people. Remember that you could use Thunder Focus Tea during this if you're going to be pressing it on either Vivify or Enveloping Mist. During the second Dream Rend, I definitely recommend using it on Enveloping Mist. It gives you the crit buff as well as the bonus tier of Morning Healing, so it's definitely good to do that. But do remember that you can press stuff like Life Cocoon, you can press stuff like Enveloping Mist, Vivify if you want to. So keep that in mind. That won't break your channel of Soothing Mist if you do that. And here's what it looks like on the actual timeline, logs. So you can see that I cast Soothing Mist onto the Evoker here. I cast Enveloping Mist, and then I'm just naturally swapping targets, right? I go to press Renewing Mist to get a Chi Harmony onto a target that I want to cast on. Press Enveloping Mist, Vivify, or Soothing Mist, Enveloping Mist, Vivify, and Vivify again, right? So that's this, from this point past here, looks normal. Actually, all of this looks normal. The only difference is that you're just channeling Soothing Mist beforehand. So you are going to be spending a little bit more mana. Like I said, Soothing Mist does cost 1k mana per second, which is fine. You're gaining a lot of HPS out of this, and every single one of your Enveloping Mists that you're casting here is going to be reduced by 7.5% on the mana cost. It's also going to gain 15% HPS as a result of you constantly having the Clouded Focus buff up, because as you swap targets with Clouded Focus, you're going to gain a stack, and Enveloping Mist healing bonus does not, or Enveloping Mist healing direct rather, does not snapshot. It only gets increased by the current buff that you have. So if you have one stack of Chi Harmony, or not one stack of Chi Harmony, one stack of Clouded Focus the entire Yulon, then you will get a 15% HPS increase on your Enveloping Mist for the entirety of that as well, right? So it's very, very good for that. In terms of the sort of talent builds that can vary depending on what you want to do, we are dropping Legacy of Wisdom or Focused Thunder, depending on what you want to do, or Unison even, for Peer into Peace. Peer into Peace is better than all three of these talents. However, these three talents, which is Focused Thunder, Unison, and Legacy of Wisdom, is, in my opinion, personal preference. Focused Thunder and Legacy of Wisdom do provide a quite good quality of life sort of feature for it. The Shaylins give cast time, and the 2 additional allies can be very, very beneficial for a lot of fights. So if you want to go with Legacy of Wisdom, then you can just drop Unison for that. If you want to play around with Focused Thunder instead, because you feel like you need, Renewing Mist into Enveloping Mist to sort of spot heal people better, you could do that. And if you just want to go for the sort of highest throughput between the three, and you don't really have to worry too much about mechanics, then you can go with Unison, as is the highest throughput choice. And that's pretty much Peer into Peace. The biggest sort of pitfall of it is swapping targets too much. Like I sort of said, you do not want to do that, because you don't want to lose too much of your mana by constantly swapping. You don't want to lose too much of your Chi Harmony healing or your mana save from Clouded Focus. So, as best you can, be mindful of who is taking damage. If you recognize that someone needs healing immediately to survive, then swap to them. If you realize that they don't really need a whole lot of healing to survive, then you could rely on your co-healers to heal them back up, or on themselves to keep themselves alive with personals and whatnot. Then continue to channel onto the same target that you have initially channeled onto, right? And that's pretty much it. Peer into Peace is a very, very good quality of life feature for us. Mystery Monk has gotten a lot of it this tier, or a lot of this expansion rather. Um, and this is probably the best feeling one that we've gotten. It feels incredible to do these ramp sequences where you are swapping targets while channeling Soothing Mist the whole time, and even to swap and see, Vivify do less overhealing than it was before, feels incredible. So this is a very, very big boon for us, but it does come with some, I would say, like psychological risks because you don't want to swap too much. It goes against healer nature to swap to like not swap to someone who's low HP. But just have trust in your raid, and if you don't have trust in your raid, obviously, then you could spam a little bit more with casting into them to keep them alive. Ultimately, your goal is to keep people alive. But that'll be all. So thank you for watching this video guide. I probably will end up writing an actual guide as well. But maybe I don't. It is sort of exam season right now, so I'm studying for that, and I'm just stressed with a whole bunch of other stuff. Anyways, take care. I love you all, and goodbye.